Okay. The beginning of Acharei talks about the Kohen Gadol when you're Yom Kippurim. I hope I'm being heard over there. You hear me?
Yes,
good. Okay, they hear me. Okay.
We can hear you out the too.
Good. Okay. Yes, I wasn't sure. Okay. About the video, but talking about the avodah of Kohen the Yom Kippurim, and we know from our avodah, from the avodah in the Marza and Yom Kippurim, we do Kedoshim 4 times. 2 of them are for the par. The par, the Chattas are par for the Kohen Gadol. What he does for both in the Torah it says Ba'adoi Ba'ad Beisai, both times. But the first time in the Marza it says Ba'ad Beisai, and the Gemara asks on that Beisai is Uishtoi. That's what it was when he was his house, I mean his wife. And then the second one is Echav HaKoyanim. It was for his friends. And the question is, why do you need, first of all, 2 of them, and why does he need this Indian of talking about his wife and friends more than Klal Yisrael? They all seem to be, but what he's asking for, they're also part of Klal Yisrael. If he gets a kapara for Klal Yisrael, they're also forgiven. So what's the point that he mentions them separately? So I believe it's the biggest lesson in Shalom Bayis. And I'm going to just give it to you as a mashal to what I'm doing, what I want to say. We always have in the Gemara certain conversations between the Kohen Gadol and HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Kodesh Kedoshim. I want to use the same idea here. Kohen Gadol comes in the first time to do the avodah, and the Reuven Shalom asks him, Kohen Gadol, what are you doing here? And he said, he came to ask for forgiveness for Klal Yisrael. Okay, how long are you in office? He says, I just got elected. Just got elected? Okay, forgiven. The next year, he comes back, and the Reuven Shalom says to him, Kohen Gadol, what are you doing here? He said, I came to ask forgiveness for my people, for the people. He says, weren't you here last year? I said, yeah, but people do fall down. They tried to stay up there, but they fell down. Okay, forgiven. The next year, Kohen Gadol, he asks the Kohen Gadol, what are you doing here? The Kohen Gadol says, I came to ask for forgiveness, for Klal Yisrael. He says, don't you do this all the time? You ask for first you sin and then you ask for forgiveness? I think that's what you've been doing. Right? And we're talking about what forgiveness is you're asking for. You're asking for a mezid, for lahachis, for shagig, for sure. You're asking for it. And you expect me to give it to you. Or you hope that I'll give it to you. And I don't bring up last year's, like I just did. It's a joke, like every year is new start, new beginning. Everything from before is forgiven. So the Bansham says to the Kohen Gadol, if you do this for your wife and friends, then we can talk. But if you don't do this for your wife and friends, then what are you asking me for? And this is something that we all have to realize. When we have arguments, it's part of it. The wife is an Eza Kenegdei, so there's going to be arguments, and there may even get to be fights, as we'd call it. But then someone says, "I'm sorry." That's the end of it. It's forgiven. It's forgotten. It's not, you can't say the next time it happens, it says, you always do the same thing, you never change. You can't use those terminologies anymore. Because I forgave you. It's forgotten. This is the first time it happened. It didn't happen before. You say it did happen? That was forgiven. It didn't happen. It doesn't count. That's the way we want to do. Like the Rebbeinu Shem act with us. So do we act the same way? It's Mida Keneged Mida. That's the lesson, I think, of the Avodah, the power and the vidu that we have. Next, we have the union of the Geirol between the Soya HaMishdaleach and the Soya Hashem. You took two Seirim, two goats, that looked approximately the same. They tried to get them to look as similar as possible, height, weight, color, everything that should be similar. And you put one on, and then you had two of them, put one on your right, one on your left. And then there's a box. And in that box, there's two things. One says Hashem, and one says Lazazel. And the yichus is if the one Hashem comes out on the right side. And we are told that at the time of Shimon HaTzadik, all the years that he did the Avodah, it came out on the right side. What is the significance of coming out on the right side? We're still going to do the same Avodah. Doesn't make a difference come out on the right and on the left. And if there is some significance to it, why don't we just put it on the right in the first place and say that's Hashem? Why do we need a Geirel? The point of the Geirel is the Kohen Gadol is the Secretary of Education, if you want to call it like that. He's in charge of the education of Klal Yisrael. And we find by B'Shu Ben Gamla, he actually set up the whole school system that existed in that time. That's the job of the Kohen Gadol. The ruchnis of Klal Yisrael is in my hands. And I have to make sure it's a good job. But you know, it's a funny thing. Everybody in Klal Yisrael looks the same. Right now, for sure. Everybody wears a black hat and a black suit. And 90% of them will have their tzitzis out. The weekdays, mostly no ties. I'm trying to think about what else we look alike. But anyway, that's what we all look like. But are we good? That's the problem. In other words, you're going to ask for Mechila, or you want to know what to teach Klal Yisrael. What level is Klal Yisrael at? They look good to me, right? So the Reuven Shlom says, I'll tell you what level you're at. The one that's on the right, that's the level that you're at. Let's understand the two goats. One forgives for 612 Averis. And that one goes Lazazel. And in reality, that's something we understand very easily. The guy will tell you it's Machal Shabbos. What do you call him? Mashegitz. The guy says he eats Taufis. What do you call him? Mashegitz. The guy says to you, I miss Krishma, Bekavone. You call him Mashegitz. I don't put on film, Mashegitz. Everything's Mashegitz. 612 Averos are Shegitz. There's one mitzvah, one Avera, if you want to call it, that's different, and that's Tumas Migdash Kedoshim. That means that you become Tomei, and you touch, unfortunately, or you go into the Migdash, or you touch Kodesh the Gedvarim, and you make them Tomei. So for that's a chet. A person that's trying to grow is going to be faced with that. Because the Reuven Shlom wants the Chut HaSeira, the top that you can go. When the Reuven Shlom is satisfied for us to eat matzah the way we eat matzah, let's say, for instance, right? It has to be a thin matzah, right? In the Chofetz Chaim's time, I don't know exactly how he ate it, but he seems to have said that, you don't have to worry about Gebrach Shaila, anything less than an etzba thick. I don't know how you can eat a matzah an etzba thick, but whatever it is there, unless it's not as hard as we make it. That will be the answer. Okay, but I'm not talking about, but we have hard matzah, and the thicker it is, the harder it is to chew, and the harder it is to swallow. This is our matzah. I don't think you can make a pastrami sandwich on it. Even a salami sandwich doesn't come out good. Stuff breaks. It's not a sandwich. It's not bread. That's our matzah. The lechem aponim, which is also matzah, was a tefach thick, right? It was made with mayim poishrim, with warm water, and it was matzah. That's the avodah that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants. When you talk with the chavitin had to have mayim poishrim and oil, and be matzah. And most menachas have to be like that, with mayim poishrim. Not all of them have oil, but the ones that all have to be mayim poishrim. We make mayim shalonu. Why? Because we're not sure what's right and what the share of good is bad is. So we have to machmir. We have no choice. But what does the Rebbeinu Shalom want from us? He wants us to get all the way up to the top. We know exactly where the difference is. It's at the end of the Sedler in Kedoshim. We had it in Shmini too. V'havdil ben Acharei tomer latoher. That's why when I'm him out tomeyo, that's a chut hasayr in Shlit, that Rashi says over here in Kedoshim. So you're talking about, I have to know the exact part. That's what we have to know. So why do we satisfy ourselves with this? Because we don't know. That's the problem. And that's the chiyuv that we have. So the Kohen Gadol, so when a person is trying to grow and trying to get to that chut hasayr, he may goof. Because he goofs, he needs a kapara, he needs a korban for that. That's the korban to Masmigdash Kedoshim. I want you to work to get to that madrege. I don't want you to go into it lechatchil and say, "Oh, I'm going to fail because it's going that way." That's of course that's not called doing good. I'm talking. I really want you to try to get there. And that you get there, unfortunately, you're going to make a lot of goofs on the way. And those goofs, there's a kapor. Not only the kapor of Yom Kippurim, which goes l'flayin or flim, dafki into the Kodesh Kedoshim, to show that how choshev it is to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But all the korbanos that we bring of Chatas HaTzibur, that we bring for Rosh Chodesh, or for the Golem, all of those are only for Tumas Mikdash Kedoshim. So in other words, we expect it to be a lot of it, because I'll see how often, at least once a month, that it's going to happen. And it's going to happen in, let's say, in Tishrei, going to be more. In Nisan, it's going to be more. So therefore, there's Chag, the Sivan, you can say also a little bit more. Because you have Yom Tov too. Now you'll ask me why in the I picked months that the Chodesh should be full of tshuva and everything else. You're right. There's one place in the Torah, I don't remember where, it says Vayem Rishon on Sukkot. It's Rishon Lawat. What do you mean Rishon? Rishon Chatoim. It's the first day of Averis. What do you mean? Because after Yom Kippur you in Skapel. And then the next few days you're busy doing mitzvahs, finding in Lov Neslik, building a sukkah. You're busy with mitzvahs. So no Averis. The first time you get a chance to do an Avera is on Yom Tov. The first Rishon L'Chatoim. What kind of Avera am I going to do on Yom Tov? Yontif, I'm talking, I'm going to shul, I'm going to go to Beis HaMikdash in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. I'm going to be Oishik in mitzvahs. What do you mean I'm going to be? I'm going to be doing a chas v'chil and avera. In you're doing mitzvahs, you're going to do averas. Because you're going to try and you're going to goof. But I want you to try. That's the main point. I want you to keep trying to reach that madrege. And that's what the Torah is telling you here. If it comes out on the right, you know that Klal Yisrael is an heiche madrege. What they're trying to do is to grow. If it comes out if the Lazozel comes out on the right, what it's telling you is that they're missing the basics. They're still shkotzim. And that's the part that the Kohen Gadol has to know. What do we teach in the yeshiva? What do we have to teach? And that's his job. It's interesting also on the lashonos that I use in the Torah by when the kapora comes. It says when the mechaper by the for the Lashem, in other words, what you have to do is the zrike, the Kedoshim and everything. It says v'chiper ba'adoi u'bi'ad beisoi bi'ad kol kahal Yisrael. For everybody, kahal Yisrael. That's a high lashon. When you speak about Klal Yisrael, what the lashon of Kahal Yisrael, that means they're tzaddikim. Look at the lashon that he uses by the Azazel. Well, the next piece goes on the Azazel, and then it says, it comes after he did it. So then v'rochatz, he said, v'nosa asoy all of his kol, v'nil g'zaretz k'seira, v'shilach ha'seirim b'midbar, that's the posik, and then he comes to change his clothes, and then v'rochatz is b'sorei b'mayim mokim kodesh, v'lofish b'godim, v'yotz v'osei z'ilosei, v'seilas ha'om, v'chiper ba'adoi u'ba'ad ha'om. Whenever he uses the lashon ha'om, it's a low-level lashon. In other words, it's not considered, they're talking about to the low guys in the Klal Yisrael. So when he talks Lazozel, that's the level that he figures we are. We are La'om. They needed kapora from the Azozel. And the other ones that were in the Kodesh Kedoshim, in Tumas Mikdash and Kedoshim, they are called Kahal Yisrael. That's the difference. So we say even in the Chatoim, that's what they're called. V'chipa ba'adoi ba'ad kol Yisrael. That's what they are. They're Klal Yisrael, and I'm mechapa for them. And it's necessary to be mechapa for them because they're going to do averos. And that's really the point of Yom HaKippurim. Yom HaKippurim was not meant for push the averos. That we hope you're going to keep changing and you're going to become a good guy. It's not pshat I'm going to steal and do this and then ask for kapora. That's not really what it's expected. Obviously, it may happen. And we have to try to get better, and we still may goof. That's emes. That's why we ask goof and kapor all the time for that. Aber l'maise, my intention definitely should not be that way. And if I know myself that, let's say, I do certain things, and because of that I come to steal, let's say, for instance, the Gemara you should have honest weights and stuff like that, which you have also in the Parsha, right? Yeah, let's say I want to make a museum, and I want to show you that it's possible two things looking exactly alike, and one's going to weigh a lot heavier than the other one. It's a museum piece, but what's a museum? The museum is seeing how people could cheat you. In other words, if I put the heavier one on the scale, you'll see that you'll think you're getting more than put the lighter one on the scale. Right? Which is the more honest one. That's the one I'm interested in, and then lighter or heavier. But that's the point that we do. And I can't have that even in my house for show, because I may take it and use it sometimes. When things are bad, things are hard, I'm going to have to do that. And that's a problem. And so maybe as a yochid, I have to find problems myself. I see that I have a Yetzer Hara, so I'm supposed to get rid of all the things that can cause me the Yetzer Hara. Klal Yisrael is not supposed to have that. They're supposed to reach the pinnacle of purity. That's the whole tachlis of Klal Yisrael as an am. I think the Yechidim can goof. So the kapora that got to go for Klal Yisrael really should be for Klal Yisrael trying to grow constantly, which is the Yisrael Hashem. And the thing over there. Okay. You have the concept of vidui. Now, here we're talking about the vidu of a korban tzibur, but it's the same thing. We do vidu of a yochid. Yeshiva, if you come, you'll see that they give out, or there's usually for sale, different viduis you can buy. For a nickel, a dime, I don't know, whatever it is there, arichas, and they're good. The stuff that's in there is good. The guy has something to be misvad about, and the chidor takes every letter, brings down chatoim from that letter. You can mark out which ones you did, and say it at that time. Good, you know. But the one in the Marzer is a Shamla Begadna. Doesn't say much more. It's a very short vidui, and that's the vidui. And the guy says vidui can say it for this much, or you can say this much. It's up to him. Or you can say both, but why are you saying the big one? If you look into it, into the Shamla Begadna, that's attitude. There is no chatoim there except Gezel, and I'll explain why Gezel's in there. Or types of Gezel. Why Gezel's in there. But everything else is not there. It's just attitude. Why you should mention Averis? You have when you say the choton, or what you have when you sing, whenever they go how kulam, saying there you enumerate, but the vidu itself, the one that's the real vidui, that one doesn't mention any chatoim. I think it's this way. The reason for it. And we also have a din that a choite has to, a guy who's going to get killed by Bezdin should say vidui just before they kill him, or before they give him malchus, or anything like that. You should say vidui. What's the point? We know from the Rambam that there are three madrigas, three steps in tshuva. Your chawat alova, kabbalah alosid, and to say vidui. This guy we're going to kill, he doesn't need a kabbalah alosid because he hasn't got any. You're going to kill him. And chawat alova, there's no question in my mind he has chawat alova, right? But why do you have chawat alova? Because he got caught? That why he has chawat alova? Or because he actually has charot? That's the point that Vidu is trying to bring out. We know. Obviously you have Avodah Meira, we know you're going to get klep, you're going to get this. So this is Avodah Meira. How do you do Avodah Meira? That I love. Now let's understand what love means. I love davening, right? I love davening. Why do you love davening? It gives me a good feeling, right? I like the niggin. That's for you. That's not for the other for the other one. The Gemara teaches, the Mishnah in Ovis teaches up what love is, right? And not Ava Tui Bedova. That was Amnon and Tama, right? Bottle the Dova is bottle the Ava. What is Ava that's not Tui Bedova? That's David and Yonason. So I asked the Kasha was the Rosh Yeshivas, that's how. I asked them, but that's also totally in the Bedava. If any one of the two will become a Shegitz, the friendship is over. So why is that less Dava than the one over there? And he said because they're both trying to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I didn't understand the answer till many years later, till my wife was nifta. To understand, like, what is love? I miss her. I like to talk to her. I like to smile. I like the other things about her. That's for me. That's not for her. What do you mean you love her? You love yourself. Like you love chicken. What does that mean? You want to live it, the chicken should live, you want to eat it up. So that's not called love. So how do you express love? And that's what the Mishnah is talking about. When the love was an external thing, let's say she was a beautiful girl, I assume. And he had a tremendous taiva for her. And he became a chushavcha. And he raped her, so he became a chushavcha in that maisa. He throws her out. Is she any less beautiful now than she was before? No. Now, what happened? He's angry at her, or he has no taiva for her anymore because he's a chushavcha. I don't know how that works. Whatever it is, he's the one that changed, not she. So when you talk about Tliya B'Dava, it's totally in your taiva, your thing. It's in the lover, not the lovey. Same thing by you. If the other guy changes, that would be no kasha why you wouldn't love him anymore. That has nothing to do with love. You know, it could be if she would, let's say, become, it's also Batal Dava, but so she become a different person. Okay, I don't love her, then it's not the person I had. But here's the same person, same doing the same thing. So the thing is, when they were both doing the same thing, Vaz Hashem, my love for you is it has nothing to do with me or you getting anything from you. I get nothing from you. Right? All I get from you is looking at you, how you serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how you love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what I get from you. Maybe inspiration. But that's not getting anything physical from you. And I still love you. That's not Tluy B'Dava. Has nothing to do with it. That's why I'm doing it for you. If I want to give, if David wanted to be Mahani Yonis and David, that would be the point of it, because it's for you, not for me. Most love, as we say, is for me. But sometimes you take a love, you want to show love to your wife, you bring her a gift, you bring her that. Not because it's the anniversary, you better bring it before she yells at you and all that. But talking about that, I want to be mahana. I want something to, I want to give. She did, whatever it is, I'm in a good mood. I was makir finally, how great she is, what she cooks for me, and does for me, and everything else. I want to be mahana. That's Abba. That's doing it for the other person. So now this person is going to be killed, or on Yom Kippurim, and we're clapping vidui. What are we remembering? We're remembering our attitude and the truth of how good God was to us. Even the most troubled person And the most angry person has to be makir that there were times in his life that he liked, whether it was eating ice cream or other things. But there's something that he liked and enjoyed in life. And for that he has to be thankful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu who gave him the life. And how did he repay it? By doing chatoim. By doing chatoim, and every chet in a way has all the thing of chutzpah, and all these things that lay in every chet. And therefore that's how I repaid you. That's how I acted to you. So I feel terrible that I did. That's what I did to the Reuven Shalom. That's Ahava. Because now you're dealing with what you did to him, not for what you did for you, what you got for yourself or hurt yourself. Talking about what we did for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I said Gezel is different. He goes, we spoke about this at the beginning of Vayikra, that it tells you in the Osham. So it says the Osham, the Hashem Me'ilah, which L'chayri should be the one that if you want to say somebody was more by Hashem, was the Hashem Me'ilah of Kodshim. Guy used Kodshim or something of a Kodesh for his own uses. Whether it's accident, not accident, doesn't make a difference. He has to pay for it. He has to bring Kodesh. What does it say for that? It says, "V'hikter olav hakoyin achatosa shechotam." Oh, it's a nefesh kisimo mal v'chotam b'shkogam kodesh Hashem. Ve'vis Hashem el Hashem I'll tell me whatever it is. He sinned. Okay, sinned. Now watch what it says by Gezel, by Yoshem Gezel. Nefesh kisechato u'mol mal b'Hashem. When you steal, you make a me'ilah in Hashem. What does a me'ilah in Hashem mean? That you say that He can't supply your needs, or He's not going. I'm going to take what God can't, what God won't give me. I'm going to take myself. It's not going to happen, and that's a me'ilah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're saying He hasn't got the power, and that's a me'ilah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the big difference here. So the idea is to show that you love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's what the vidu is, and that's why it's more attitude is the inyan than it is the chet itself.
Chamas also?
I'm sorry?
Chamas also? Chamasnu also? Chamasnu?
Well, same thing, that's chamas.
So you need a separate one for it?
No, so you got the differences in halacha between what's chamas and what's together.
It's not an attitude.
Yeah.
So
No, but that's Gezel itself is an attitude.
Is a different attitude of Hamas than Gezel?
They'd be stronger, maybe therefore I may feel more justified in Hamas. We have an interesting thing of Shchut. It's such a very strange Yetzer Hara. We see it though, L'maisa. What does a person want to do? He wants to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or whatever we explained in the beginning of Vayikra, all the different korbanos, what they mean. And I want to show with a maisa disbelief, and it's a tremendous Yetzer Hara to do it, and I want it now, but I'm not in the Beis HaMikdash. I'm living 200 miles away, 500 miles away. I'm not there. I'm Tomei. Or any other type of a reason. The Beis HaMikdash is closed already. They did the avodah of the what do you call it? The Talmud Shalom and Shomayrev did already. So there's no more korbanos coming in today. Okay, I missed it. So what I do, I make shchutei chutz. And I know l'chatchila that I'm going to get chorus, because if I'm not amazed, I don't get chorus. If I think you're allowed to do it, then no chorus. So obviously, I know I'm going to get chorus. That means I'm going to lose my ilum, the soul, whatever that means in the chorus, my death as a human being. And whatever it is there, afal pikein, I got to do it now. And that's not understandable, really. And yet this is a Yetzer Hara, and it's important that we have discipline in Avodas Hashem. You don't grow just by changing your chitzonius. We have the din in that you're not allowed to go b'mailas al mizbechi. You can't make steps by the mizbeach. So you have to have a ramp. You ever see the pictures that they have of the ramp? The ramp is longer than who knows how long. It's a long ramp. You put a couple of steps, 1, 2, 3, you're up there. When we need a ramp for. It says the reason that you need that because you shouldn't show your elva out. They're wearing pants. There's no elva to be shown. So why not? And we have in the Beis HaMikdash anyway steps, shiramalis, 15 steps going in from years old and 24. So somehow steps don't matter. I can walk with steps. There's no difference. It doesn't mean steps is no bizoyin here, nothing. What it means is this. When you go with steps, that you go from one level to another level very fast. If you go with a ramp, you're going slowly at a slow pace. When you're coming to go down the Mizbeach, that means you want to grow. You want to claim that you're Hechem Adrege, you go slow. You don't go fast. Because then you show an elva. You become ridiculous in a way. I don't know if you've ever seen this, and I'm sure some of you have, that you have guys that just do tshuva, some college boys, that, have the hair going down who knows where. I want to give you with a pigtail, just imagining, so you can imagine. Have a ring on his finger. He'll have pace. May even have his sitzes out. Or that's called religious. That's what I want to be. That's called religious. I want to be religious. That's what he does. But it looks ridiculous. Because some difference, right? It's not what we mean. You're not supposed to jump in from this. You're not madrege yet. You're not up there to do the two things that are chumras or not even chumras or whatever it is there. But some that you feel, there's some where you want to jump immediately and become like that. And this is the Yetzer Hara of little kids in yeshiva, usually in the 9th, 10th grade. Usually get Yisur chumras until they grow up and find out that it's very hard to be machmir. Also, but chumras are not kedin. When it comes kedin, you have to worry about it. You have to give musa that you know how to take it on. Well, you're not in the madrege, but that's a different story. But even talking about chumras that are not even, there's no such thing even. It just sounds like a chumrah to them, and therefore that's why they do it. And they think it's religious. That's the Yetzer Hara that a person has. Not interested to find out what the thing is. I need it now. I'm going to say in the now generation that everything I need is now. And it's not that way. What Avodas Hashem requires discipline. It requires growth. It's not this thing that you come into it immediately and that's what it's going to be, because then it doesn't mean anything. Interestingly, maybe it was the same time because obviously he grew in this thing there. I'm not going to mention the name of the person, but the ones who were here in the yeshiva for many years and know what I'm talking about. One time, many years ago, wouldn't say 50, I would say maybe 40 years ago, 35 years ago. I was asked to invite by one of the parents in the yeshiva of Choshev, the Talmidim. Now, can I invite a girl for Yom HaRayim? When he told me that, was understand, we have a long davening. It's getting faster, by the way. But it was a long davening in those times. Rosh Hashanah was 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Yom Kippur was all day, no break. Can a guy take it? You can't just throw a guy in there and say, "Oh, go there for Shabbat, for Yom Kippur, it'll be good." I mean, the guy's he's not used to it. Then I asked him the silly question of how long is he a ger? 2 weeks. 2 weeks a ger. I mean, really, but the guy said, please. Can I get please? There's no answer. Okay. So I invite him. I go to pick him up. And there he is standing with, I don't know if he had payas, but he had longish hair. He had a bomber jacket and a backpack on his shoulders. And I said, oy vey, I don't know what this guy's going to do with us. And I was wrong. He was an embassy Ben Torah. How can it be a Ben Torah again in 2 weeks? He became a ger because he learned Torah. Don't ask me why. He happened to be a choshev person as far as his job. He was a librarian in Harvard. And he was sent by his family, I guess what they were interested in, to learn in Yerushalayim. He learned in yeshiva for 2 years. He learned Gemara before he was a ger. As a goy, he learned Gemara. And that made him turn and want to become a yid. And he became. And whatever he knew. Not everything do you know. But there was the sincerity. Feinstein came back for many years. I was in South Kedoshim, stayed by Rabbi Goldman. And we made a very big friendship with it. We went together to his chasana. And he's now, I think, in Chinuch in Eretz Yisrael. So sometimes you can goof on you're looking at the chitzonius, and I looked at this. It didn't stim, but it was part of his growth. He was there. He was on the way up, and these parts fell off. It happened to be that I was able to ask him this question, but he ended. That's how much he impressed me. But like this, you can't ask a question like this to a guy. How does it be being a Jew? Like, what's the difference between a Jew and a guy? What does that mean? I asked him this question. I said, you learn Torah as a guy, and you learn Torah as a yid. And the Gemara says, Torah b'amim leka, al tamin. It can't be Torah by the goyim. So what does that mean? And I couldn't ask me anyone else. About him, I was able to ask it. So he answered me. He said, the truth is, I have a lot of difficulty with my family since I became a ger, and I really haven't had a chance to sit down really and learn. So I really can't answer that, but I think this is what it means. And I asked him, I said, if you'll ever find, I'll tell you in a minute what it means. I said, if you ever find a different shot, or you think over it again, and you realize that that's not, you have something more, please tell it to me. And I've known him for many years after that. He came to the yeshiva, he never once changed his mind on the why. He said, the reason is, he says, by these words you live. He says, I know Shintoism, I know Buddhism, I know a whole bunch of religions he knows. And he says, but these words, that's what he called knowledge. I know Judaism, I know the laws. But by these words you live, It has a different feel. It's a different way how you absorb it. Therefore, it's a difference. Because Torah doesn't change you. It's just the knowledge. It's not Torah. It's like the Koreans learning the Talmud, to become smarter. That doesn't make them any more Jewish than they were before. And the thing there, now you'll tell me maybe there are, the Bnei Menashe seem to come from those areas or something like that. I can't answer you, I don't know. And that. Anyway, the Seder ends with the Arayas and the morning to them. And it says, K'maisel tzmitzrayim, asher yishaftem bo lo yisasu, K'maisel tzkenan, asher ani mevi eschem sham lo yisasu, v'chgesem lo yiselechu. In other words, he picked the two worst nations in the world. The Canaanim, who he's going to describe what they do. Mitzrayim, what they did. The Zima, the Avedizorah, the terribleness, all the things that they are to be one of these two nations. They're the worst. And he says, don't be like them. That means, but like somebody else I can be. The Americans, why not? Not bad, they're nice guys. And then the Americans are many nations, that's why it's a hard thing. But I don't want to pick any nation, but be like them. No, you can't be like anybody. So Shiva said the reason for that is, once you start, ultimately you're going to get to myself, Mitzrayim and El Canaan. It may not be right away. Right now I did a little of it, I didn't do much. We can see it in the country as it happens now, from what little things to what's demanded, things that you would think that can't be demanded in our country, in the democracy, whatever it is, the abolishment of everything that was created by the, whatever you call them, the fathers of our country. No, there's another lesson for that.
Founding fathers.
The founding fathers. The founding fathers wanted, and everything else, knowledge on who they are and what they represented. And in the Chinukim talk, you see that this could not have existed. Can't happen. You see how much Ra is in us, just to be able to express it is a piliploim that they're able to do. And this is all done with sincerity. They believe they're good people. They believe that what he called, that's myself. You think you're good, but you're most worst people in the world. Nothing to do with good. You have probably, I would say, I don't know what midas we go into this on, so I better get off the topic. There could be a lot of selfishness. What I say, my day is more important than anybody else's. Whatever the reason is, it deteriorates. And the same thing. I'm telling you, don't do like them. Meaning, but you can't do even the smallest thing, because you're going to be like them in the end. It says, okay, these are rayas, so it's from here. It's hard to say. Okay, one other thing maybe here, the Melech is mentioned here, it's going to be mentioned again in Kedoshim. Why is the Avodah Zorah of a Melech worse than all other Avodah Zorahs? And the same thing we find in Tanakh. The Avodah Zorah of the Baal is a worse Avodah Zorah than Reuven ben Avat. What difference does it make? In both cases, you don't believe that the Ben Shalom is the God. You believe in some other stupidity. And if that's the case, so it's a Zoba Avodah Zorah. So why are you making this chilik? The chilik is this. Baal and Melech, I assume the words come from, Melech is from Melech, and Baal is from Balabos, an owner. That means you're making a commitment to do blindly whatever you think, whatever they command, supposedly. So you, like all other things, you believe in because I believe in what it is. What I understand what the function is, and I understand it, and I believe in that function, and therefore I'm over Avodah Zarah. But in the Melech and this, I do it without cheshbon, whatever they say. If you're willing to do that, then there's a taina on you, so why not do it with the Rebbeinu Shalom? How come all of a sudden by the Rebbeinu Shalom I do what I understand? And if I don't understand, I don't do. And by Avodah Zarah you will do even if you don't understand? That's intolerable. Maybe you have a taiva, you have this and that. Okay, I'm going to punish you like an Avodah Zarah. Abel. I'm not that's eradication that we're talking about, that he's going to go after him and his family and everything else. That's something that doesn't exist by regular Avodah Zarah. It's the same thing that Achav was considered a worse person than Reuven ben Avot because he served the Baal, was for that reason. Okay, what does Kedoshim mean? Kedoshim to you. It goes into a lot of things. The thing there, I'm not going to go into them, but basically, out there, we only eat certain things. We're limited in everything that we've done in the Gashmius world, that everything is done with hefkerus. We limit ourselves in that. And that's what makes us holy. The Shabbos and the type of work we can do and the things, many things we do, that makes us holy. And the more we do, we are in that, the holier we get. So for instance, someone who's Zoichul Chulun and Baichel Taras HaKodesh is going to be more Chaver, in other words, he's going to be more holy in that sense than he's more Kodesh than the person that's not a Kohen is more Kodesh than us, because he can't take Tumah, he can't take certain things that he has to be polished from. So Mimele, he is more holy than we are. So that's holiness. Precious is holiness. And you can understand it yourself, because the person who is polished from the Hanois Hagashmi and is Oisik in the Ruchni, automatically is going to keep growing, and he grows, and that growth calls him Kodesh, makes him Kodesh. Knowledge enough is not going to do it. Bilam knew much more than anybody else in certain things. Was not a Kodesh. He had his poets. He did all the Chatoim Shayach. He was a Rosh Hashanah, but he was a Navi, for whatever the Rebbeinu made him a Navi, for to take off the tightness of the Yom Yisraelim, but he was not a good man, he wasn't a holy man. They may have thought he was holy, that I can't see. Yeah. The Rosh Hashiva said in the Raya from the Rambam, you can look it up and see what the Raya is. When the Indian of Notar Ravai, Namni Yisrael in Ola, Mitzvah Ola, says, what's going to happen? You're going to have 3 years you can't eat it. By Shana Aviz, you kopir Kodesh Yiluvim Hashem, you have to take it to Shalayim. By Shona Chamishis Teichlis Pilyai L'Hoisif L'Chem Tv'Asa. The word L'Hoisif L'Chem Tv'Asa is a funny word. What's L'Hoisif L'Chem? So it says you'll get back the 4 years worth of stuff that you couldn't use. So he said, if we learn from this, and there's a lot to learn different, even more than what the Rosh Hashiva said. The Rosh Hashiva once said in a pier, I remember, he said, and you say by Stoker, Keselach and Dayad, and Broch Ad Lidai, which comes for tzedakah and for myself and all these things, and I didn't see it. I don't got it. Whatever guy put in the time, I don't see the bracha. He says, don't ask for it. You ask for what you feel the Rebbeinu Shem owes you, then the Rebbeinu Shem is going to ask you what you owe him, and that's not a good thing to have that deal. So Mamela, it doesn't kedai. But the money that you gave for tzedakah, you will get back this year. Now we'll learn out from this min lohisif lachem. Someone a tainet goes on every mitzvah that there is that you can get it back. And if you spend money for a mitzvah, that comes back to you. Now, you'll want to tell what's called a mitzvah and what's called bragging, and that thing I can't answer you. There's a big difference in that. A guy can buy an eslig. That's one of the things that's probably an eslig. The hidurim are the kashrus of it, then the beauty of it, the cleanliness of it. Some, the ikar is, mine looks better than yours. So therefore, I will spend more so mine can look better than yours. That's not for God, that's for me. It's important in all the mitzvahs that we do it for me, we do it for God. You do it for God means I want to be upgehitten and do it the best I can, and I'll pay whatever I have to pay for it, but that's good. But if someone does it, I'm doing it because I want to brag about it, I want to show off with it. I'm not saying he doesn't get schar, but he's not going to get the real schar. That schar, that's for himself, and that doesn't count really. Let's see what else. What did they say about Torah? Oh yeah. So the end off is like this. The end of the tzedler, which we said this, says, Reuven Shalom is mavdil us from kol ha'amim, and then starts the mafter. V'ivdaltem in a-behema at-mehered lat-meyo. Now, what did I do? I was mavdil, and I took you different from all the nations. When I took you out of Mitzrayim, the Yam said, he asked the question, Eloi David Zor, Eloi David Zor. What's the difference between the Jew and the Mitzri? They're both Evdei David Zor. So why are you saving the Jew? And the Reuven Shalom knew to save the Jew because the Jew is not a goy. And he has things in him that's going to make him, when he gets the idea that we have to become Kodesh, we have to become Anam Hashem, that he'll throw it away. He knew that, and he was able to mavdil that. But that's a chut asayrodik avdoleh. The Yam didn't see it. Maybe Malach maybe didn't even see it. And the Reuven Shalom saw the difference between the Yid and the Goy. And for that he saved his manavim. So therefore he put a chiyuv on us. If dalton in a tehima gat torah latmeya ben leif hatomei latorah, Rashi says here the chut asayro when you shecht it, 50% on 50 is treif, 50 and a mashu is kosher. And to know that mashu, the chut asayre, that's a bit different than between kosher and treif. And I'm supposed to be able to recognize it, and I'm supposed to be able to see it. A lot of people, I'm not talking here business, I'll tell you very honestly, the people that have 2 sinks, I got 3 sinks, okay? And, but I lived on the east side, and I still have the apartment on the east side, I have 1 sink. What's the difference in 1 sink and 2 sinks? Everybody's building 2 sinks at least, right? And you want to keep it away. And if you think you're successful, so what did it cause in our society? When a guy had 1 sink, he had to know the dinim of bas b'cholov, he had to know taruves, he had to make sure that he didn't mix this spoon with this spoon, whatever it is there, because he washes it all in his hand, or he's not letting it soak in the sink itself. Every spoon or dish that he did he knows exactly what he's doing. When you have two sinks and the kids put it in the wrong sink, or the shiksa puts it in the wrong sink, or she washes both dishes together, what do you got then? But you don't know that. You don't think about that. Why? Because I don't know the halachas. So the idea is, when I do it, I should do it because I feel in myself it will help me keep myself from getting mixed up. Because I have a tendency sometimes to just throw it in the sink without realizing what I'm doing. And this maybe happened only once in my lifetime, but because that I bought two sinks. And that's because I can't warm myself. But not because I'm more religious. I'm not more religious. I'm more worried about myself not being able to keep the mitzvahs. That's why I do two. And I have three for that reason. The part of one is more important than the others. You want to keep it part of a real power, not a power of inflation, a power of culture, milchiks, which is also power. But then it can become treif. And this we keep it power, even if it does become milchiks, inflation, it doesn't become treif. And that's the point that they're trying to keep. And the thing over there is that's a weakness of myself. So because myself, I have three sinks if I'm able to. If I have one is one. I have to be able to be careful as much as I can with one. That's the point. But in the Torah, man minds that that's the way the Torah you're supposed to learn. I'm supposed to know the chilik, the chutasai, the chilik. It's not enough to quote and to know difference and to build them. Like I said, the matzah I have to be able to make it the tefach and still be matzah. That's what I have to do. What I want to do for lemaisa, that I want to be machma, I don't want to take a chance, but I know the difference. If you'll ask me to paskin on something, I'll be able to paskin on it and tell you that's kosher or not. But to eat it myself, that I don't want to take a chance of making it myself because I'm frightened I won't be able to be sure that I made it the right way. That's my own hummus. Anyway, having a good Shabbos, a good Shiur. Be well.